So this is still kind of a mystery even to you. Even someone who has studied this for this long, you know that it works, but you're not exactly sure how it's working. Is that a fair assessment?
That's a fair assessment. I mean, when we, as physicists, we hate to say, oh, don't have a clue. So, well, we now know there's so-called quantum entanglement, which is that things seem to be connected at a quantum level across great distances. And so the easy answer is, well, it must be quantum entanglement. But, that's just words. It doesn't really tell us how it works. But to give you an example, we wondered how far you could go. So we did an experiment, again, with Ingo Swann, who is such a really top-level remote viewer, to view Jupiter, planet Jupiter, before the flyby, before the NASA flyby. And so he did, and he described Jupiter the way anybody might, red spot and all that kind of stuff. But he said, but there's a thin ring around Jupiter. I wonder if I went to Saturn by mistake, but I really see a ring around Jupiter. Nobody knew about any ring around Jupiter. Carl Sagan happened to come by in the lab and said, "Oh, what do you think of this? We got this result." He said, "Ring around Jupiter? That's nonsense. There's no." But when the NASA flyby finally got there, it turned out there was a small ring around Jupiter. And so we got that in publication in a book we wrote about all this stuff before it was known in the scientific community. So that's what we find out, that apparently even distances is not a big deal. The other thing we wondered, I can tell you what it isn't.
Okay.
We thought maybe it was brainwaves. The Russians came up with an idea of, well, brain waves, low frequency, long wavelength, they can seemingly get through some aspects of the environment. So we came up with a series of experiments, and one of them was, okay, let's put our remote viewers on submarines, take them into the depths of the ocean, because it turns out seawater is highly conductive. And so even at low frequencies, even at brainwave frequencies, it would be a complete shield for that. So we piggybacked on somebody else's experiments, Stephen Schwartz's experiments using remote viewers to go find archaeological wrecks and shipwrecks and so on, which turned out to eventually be a successful experiment. But anyway, we got to do 2 experiments. We got pristine results, even with them under the ocean water. So we know it's not ordinary electromagnetic functioning. So we can strike one thing off the list, not that we know what to put on the list in its place, other than, it's got to be some new field, some quantum aspect that we don't understand yet.
We don't understand, but yet you could repeat it.
But we could repeat it.
Wow.
Now, I'll give you another example of the skepticism that we got. And by the way, I can't blame them. We had some psychologists at SRI, and they said, you've got that stupid ESP experiment stuff going on, and this is going to ruin our reputation. People think that we're a nonsense place, and so it's hurting our reputation. Of course, they didn't know it was a highly classified CIA program. So anyway, so our director said, "Well, what do you think? I mean, how would you know if this is false or whatever?" And he said, "Look, make a list of all experiments." Places that have been gone to as targets, and then give us the transcripts that were generated for those viewings, and don't tell us which ones go with which ones, and we'll try to rank them for each place. And so they did that, much to their chagrin. 7 of the 9 were first-place matches in a 9-experiment series. Give you another example of and by the way, I can't complain about the skepticism. I mean, even as we're doing all this, we haven't lost our skepticism about how could this be. But we finally we got into a spot where the only thing that was secret about this program was that it was secret. People heard that we had these people coming in and doing experiments, but we weren't publishing anything. So I went to the CIA contract monitor and said, you've got to let us publish something, because the only thing secret about this project is there's a secret project. So if we publish something, that'll handle that.
Did you want to do that to get more scientists involved?
Yes, that was our personal aspect.
So that if there was actual data, more people who were on the outside skeptical would say, well, hold on, why am I skeptical? Maybe perhaps there's something to this. And then you start considering your own life, these moments of intuition, weird coincidences. You're thinking about someone, they call you.
Yeah.
We all have this idea that there's something there, but we don't know what it is. But we're very skeptical of someone who tells us that they can do it.